Episode 49, WWB. He's Jeremy, he's Matt, I'm Dan. It's WWB Big Business. That's all that's got to be said. Let's go.
And we're back, all three of us back together, rocking and rolling. Episode 49, Wrestling with the Business, or as Dan likes to call it, Big Business. Got to do it in the voice and everything. So, how'd you guys do last week? I didn't watch the show, I didn't do nothing.
I don't think we got into any fights, did we?
Any major happenings?
We got along very well.
I thought it was very professional between Jeremy and I last week.
It helped that we talked about a lot of things that Dan didn't know much about. Talked about a lot of AEW.
Quiet.
I mean, we had Revolution to talk about. We had Sting's last match.
Excellent show.
He did admit that it was going to be Sting's last match, so it was nice to see him eat his hat a little bit. But other than that, we were very well behaved. And, of course, we have a new champion in the house. So Dan was happy about that.
I'm sure.
All in all, it balanced
It worked out.
Nicely. Yeah, it worked out.
All right, so we got to know, when are you decorating this thing? Seeing as I'm still the only one.
I do have an idea, but I have to ask my wife. So, let's see, WrestleMania is, 3 weeks away? I guess I have 3 weeks.
All right.
Because there's no way I'm having this after
Actually,
WrestleMania.
I did just think of an idea, too, for it.
Oh, look at that. Well, maybe.
Good timing.
Yeah, just in time for 2025.
Yeah.
All right, we got a lot to go over this week. We're going to talk about AEW's big show and the debuts that happened last night. We're going to talk about the Hall of Fame happening at WrestleMania this year. A few more names are being added. Whole bunch of stuff to get into. Let's start with TNA. Something a little local to us. They've announced a partnership with the Albany Firebirds Arena Football League.
So,
Doing what?
is it the team or is it the league?
So, it's the team. They're part of the Arena Football League. Yes. So
Right, I knew
Are they
that.
trying to get some of the players to become wrestlers? What would the partnership
Pulling
be?
it up right here. So, TNA wrestlers Moose and AJ Francis will be honorary captains for the Firebirds on their home game on May 2nd against the Nashville Cats. They'll be part of the pregame coin toss, participate in any other activities, promotions, and team events. They will be, and the Firebirds will be present at TNA wrestling shows in Albany on May 3rd and 4th. Oh, they're going to be at the Armory.
Well, that means we're going to be at the Armory.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty
So,
cool. Never been to a TNA show.
Get ready for that because I'm not missing that for the world. I'm actually going to make a note of that right now.
Yeah, so it looks like just a working relationship with them. I assume they're going to be doing other stuff with the leagues as they travel around, but
That's
they're
kind of,
specifically talking about Albany here.
That's
so.
like a big boy deal. That's the kind of thing you'd see WWE do.
Yeah.
That's kind of a big boy. I mean, obviously it's arena football versus NFL, which is what you'd see with the WWE, but that's...
Does it really do anything for either one of them?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Gets wrestling fans to look at arena football. I didn't even know there was an arena football league still in the area.
Yeah, I knew there was, but there was no way I was going to go.
I haven't been to an arena game in 20 years plus.
But yeah, I mean, it's a cross exposure. I mean, arena football, wrestling. I mean, there's especially TNA. I mean, and it's good marketing. I mean, we always talk about how AEW has done a shitty job of marketing themselves, especially outside of their favorite areas like Chicago and Jacksonville. And obviously, this is not TNA's home turf. This is not Florida.
Yeah, sure.
So,
And those two especially, Moose was in the NFL for a while, and Francis was college football in Maryland. Oh, he did play for the Dolphins too in 2013.
cool.
And
That's
the
awesome.
Seahawks and the Redskins, and so yeah, they have football history, so makes sense. All right, so let's talk about the big news. AEW Big Business was last night. As much as we love that name,
Big business.
they actually did really well, selling nearly 10,000 tickets. I think the final number was 9,300 or 9,500.
Yeah, it was about 95, yeah.
And right at the outset, it was in her hometown. Mercedes Moné made her debut, and she is officially all elite.
About time. I'm done with this storyline.
She actually signed back in December, not as early as we thought, but she's been signed for a while.
Yeah, it's weird to have her there. She was at All In.
That was
last
back
year.
in August,
Yeah.
but she still hadn't signed at that point.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
But
I mean, this storyline's been going on a while. I'm done. I'm glad we finally have some closure in official. She's there. Have you not felt like this has been a storyline now for like
yeah, it's been talked about for months.
4 or 5 months? Where's she going? I'm glad she's done. I'm glad this storyline is over.
This is the last storyline, really, right? Of the the open market or whatever you want to call it, like free agents, I guess.
You have a lot of contracts that are ending.
Right, but nothing new. Like, think about it. Like, they took Will Ospreay off the table. They took Okada
We're
off
getting
the
some
table.
closures
They've taken
now.
Monet. They've taken Deonna Purrazzo off the table. There really is not a lot of quote-unquote free agents, and they saved her for last. She signed since December.
Have they all released numbers?
Okada's got you mean salary?
Yeah.
Okada's got
I
think his was
love
like
to
4 million or something.
4.5 million.
To
It's
continue-
like by the way, it's like 2 billion yen
Yeah.
a year. It's like whatever.
I love to I know this continues my shit talk on their roster, but I love to find out how much they've paid this year in signings, and did they really need that? Do they really need all the people that you just named? Do they really need them? And now that we've added them, who are we getting rid of? That's a lot of signings.
I was just gonna say, I mean, watching this week's Dynamite, the entire show, all I could think was, this roster is stacked. Every single segment had a big name in it.
And think of all the big names who weren't in it.
Right. No Kenny Omega, no Adam. Well, Adam Cole had a short video thing. But, I mean, all the people who are still out
MJF.
injured. Yep, MJF.
Sting's gone. Sting just retired. He
Darby,
wasn't there.
after this week, Darby's going to be gone.
I mean, the company has outgrown Chris Jericho.
Yep. That was the low point of the whole episode, was the Chris Jericho
The
match.
first world champion, the guy that put the company on his back
How much
for
does he
basically
have
the
left?
first year.
Contract-wise.
Well, he signed in the very beginning, so...
And then he renewed.
He
did
renewed,
renew.
so he's probably got at least another year or two, I would think.
I mean, there is talk of maybe October 2025 because that's his 35th anniversary.
He'll leave.
That
He'll leave and do a farewell contract with WWE and be done.
There might be a farewell type situation.
Yeah, he's been trying to do all of his dream matches right now. He has been working with the young guys, but a lot of people think he's just riding the coattails of the young guys rather than.
Well, he did
building
what
them
he
up.
needed to do. He helped put the company on the map. I mean, I'm not a big. I think
Dude,
Chris
if I'm
Jericho-
Tony Khan, I let him buy in. If he's going
I
to
don't think
retire,
he-
I let him try
I
and
don't
buy
think
into
he
the
would.
company.
I don't think he has any interest.
5%, 10%, I go, buy in, man.
I also think Chris Jericho was a little overrated. I think he's good, but he's not the top elite of superstars.
Not anymore, no.
No, but
No,
he could,
even back in the day, I don't think he was. I mean, he was never really. He's not on the same caliber as Triple H,
Well,
Sting, Rock, Stone Cold, Undertaker. He's not there.
Yeah, he's not to that point, but he definitely grew from his time.
Y2J got him there. But his Lion Tamer days in WCW, he was always a mid-card guy, X Division style type guy. But then when Y2J hit, then he went big time.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the first ever undisputed. I mean, that whole
That's
stupid
true.
storyline with his 2 belts, and
Yep.
and then he kind of really did. I'm trying to think, he had the champion. I really don't remember.
You know-
I don't have too much knowledge of Jericho's WWE title reigns after he won the undisputed.
When his
Was he
band
re-
started to take off,
Well, he left.
He
yeah.
left, yeah.
and he kind of let himself go. He partied. And when he came back, it showed, in my opinion. And I think they took one look at him and went, this is not the Chris
He
Jericho.
left
Once,
for a while.
once
came
he
back
started
with short
doing
hair.
the list, that was his high point, probably.
But did he really have any title reigns in between the undisputed title and?
I don't know if they ever...
I don't really remember any
Don't
iconic.
remember.
No.
He had the U.S. belt, obviously, with the whole my best friend Owens storyline, and he was a U.S. champion for a while, I think.
Was he?
Yeah, remember he had the U.S. belt, and Owens had the Universal. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah, I think you're
But
right.
I don't remember too many WWE world heavyweight title reigns with Jericho. I can picture the world heavyweight belt on him for a little bit, but I just don't. He left, came back with his short hair for a while,
Yes.
and then he left and came back again.
Yeah, I think he had the world title when he was... when NXT was still the pros and the
Yeah.
rookies, and He was like a pro in that. I think he had the world title then.
I think he's kind of almost like Undertaker. I don't think they make good champions. Like Undertaker never made a good world champion, in my opinion. The belt never looked good on him. You know, he's always great chasing the title.
Yeah, he did a lot of mid-card stuff. By the way, he's been come and gone from WWE like 3 different times,
Multiple times,
I didn't even realize it was that much. But yeah, he's coming.
Either way, not he wouldn't be my choice at the beginning to put the company on, but they did, and he did. I mean, he did his job. So now he looks like hell. I'm sorry, he just looks like hell when you see him.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. So in WWE, he's U.S. champion 2 times, European champion once, hardcore once, tag champs 2 times with Edge and Big Show.
Jericho.
WWF champion, tag team champions with Benoit once, The Rock once, Christian once, Edge once, Big Show once. Won 3 Slammies. Yeah, he's never really undisputed WWF championship 1 time, World Heavyweight Championship 3 times, and he held the WCW World Championship twice.
Yeah, I remember those.
So he was in Intercontinental.
I don't remember
he won that
that
like a billion times.
Like 7. Yeah,
I
7,
think it was
8,
like
9.
9 times.
Well, they did the classic. They really gave him an opportunity. He beat Stone Cold and The Rock.
Yep.
And he had that. That was a big. I remember that. That was a big move when they gave him the WWF Undisputed Champion titles, and that was like, we're taking a mid card guy, and we are forcing him as a champion. You know what I mean? Like, we are. Like, that was one of the few circumstances where I can say they took a mid card guy. He was probably mid tier at that time, and they forced him to the top by putting the titles on him. You know what I mean? Like, they wanted. We're gonna make him a star by putting the titles on him. But I think he's more of a mid tier. But we got off topic. But I think, I think he'll be bad. I think he'll do a farewell tour.
So the moral of the story is AEW needs to get rid of Jericho. You're saying?
I think they've established themselves with a roster where they have top younger talent now.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris Jericho's just taking up time.
And I think specifically with him too, the plans have changed multiple times. He was supposed to be doing a tag team with Kenny Omega, who's out injured. Then he was supposed to do a tag team with Sammy, who's out suspended. Now he's seemingly doing a tag team with Hook.
And can I add a little development to here? Have you guys been reading more about the Sammy Guevara? Like, there's more and more conflicting stuff that's coming out about that. Like, Kevin Nash was talking about it on his show, and one report said that he did the move after everyone told him not to do the move.
So what happened was, I saw this on your video last week. So what happened was, he did the shooting star, his knee hit Hardy in the face, and after that point, they should have done a
check.
They should have done the check for the concussion, but Hardy waved it off and said he was okay. So then Sammy picked him up to do his finisher on him, which he wasn't technically supposed to do. So that's where the suspension comes in.
But again, how is that Sammy's fault?
Because it
Sammy
technically
knows
wasn't Hardy's call to say he was okay.
You guys are wrestling guys, right? And I understand you guys understand the way the ring works. Okay, is that not the referee's job? They are the producer of the match. They have the earpiece in their ear. Okay, they are the ones always running up and checking in. Like, how can the ref sit there, not call the match, and that guy's still working, but yet Sammy Guevara, who's the entertainer in the ring, who does not know?
No, that's not the role of the...
And Jeff Hardy going like this? Jeff Hardy should be suspended.
Well...
He should know better.
Jeff Hardy got his comeuppance. If I was, I'd probably fine him. I don't know if I'd suspend him because he's already out, but
I think there's just more. I think there's just more. It just does. Even like Kevin, it doesn't make any sense.
It makes perfect sense.
2 weeks later, he's getting suspended.
No,
like,
it makes perfect sense. They shouldn't have waited that long. You're right. He should have been suspended that night. Because,
Yeah, he had another match after that.
You put the person that you're in that ring with performing is responsible for your safety. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing that they tell you when you train. You have a right and a responsibility to work safely, both for yourself and for somebody else. If I'm doing a fisherman suplex on somebody and I don't tuck their head and they fall on their head and they break their neck, that's on me. That's not on the ref. That's not on them. And this is the same situation. He knew that he bashed him in the head. And it doesn't matter whether they actually do the concussion check or not. The rule is you work safely. And if you know that you just bashed a guy in the head with your knee you are obligated to take care of his head and to not do anything that could endanger.
Go for the cover and be done.
You would go for a cover. There's 1,000 other things you could do. So that's the point. The point is, you have to take care of the person you're with. He did not do a good job of taking care of the person that he was in with. He knew he bashed the guy in the knee, and he didn't take good care of him. So had he done anything else that wasn't head related to him, especially if Jeff, listen, sometimes you're just totally screwed, right? If you're ready to call the match and you're like, hey, it's time to go home multiple times, and Jeff is shaking it off like he's totally fine, okay, you do the best you can with what you have to keep the show going. He probably wouldn't have gotten penalized at all.
Right.
But the fact that he hit his finisher,
Which is a knee to the head.
which is a knee to the head, you know, it wasn't like it was an atomic leg drop or something. If it was, he probably wouldn't have been fined, you know, or suspended. So that's the unfortunate of the circumstances. You have to, the ref is there and he should, but the ref can't stop the match.
It just doesn't make any sense. The whole it just seems very, very questionable.
They should have done it immediately that night.
Yeah.
And again, you hear about
They
that
should have
committee. It was the one reviewing it.
Yep, they should have done it that night.
That's to me. That's lead to a lot of.
They should have shown the
backstage
tape to
drama.
Brian Danielson and 2 or 3 other people, medical people, and they should have gone, yep, this is bad. All right, Brian, go tell him.
Have they said, I know he broke his nose, have they said if Hardy actually did get a concussion?
I think that's actually been said.
I don't believe he did. He was being checked for a concussion. I don't know that it was confirmed that he actually had one. However, he was. They think there was some damage to the sinuses that was done that they were checking on. That was the last I heard. Matt said that on this podcast.
He was gushing quite a bit. That did look bad.
Yeah. So.
All right, so this is going to revisit something we talked about a couple weeks ago. On an episode of Dynamite, just before the pay-per-view, we saw Sting descending from the rafters like he did back in his WCW days, and I think I even said on that episode they probably got permission from Owen Hart's widow, and sure enough, that's been confirmed. Tony Khan did talk to Martha Hart to get her permission to do that entrance, because obviously that was how Owen Hart had died, doing a stunt like that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure right after it happened, back in the 90s, Sting did it one time, like right after it happened, and had to check with the family. He checked with Brett, I believe, was the story, to make sure it was okay to do it. But yeah, that's classy. That you got to do something like that.
They've got a close relationship with the Hart family. You don't want to F that up.
Right.
So it's the right thing to do. Phone call. Saved a lot of heartburn.
And then this last bit for AEW, I saw this, and so the Triller TV and Fight TV, which is the streaming service that's used for broadcasting AEW programs and internationally, they're offering a package for the next 3 pay-per-views, something like 3-for-1 type deal. It's only like $50 or whatever. But it mentioned you have to be a subscriber for AEW Plus, which I had never heard of before.
Neither have I.
It seems like AEW does have a streaming service, but only internationally. I tried signing up on it, and it said it wasn't available in our area.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense.
And then as I'm saying this, I realized Triller TV and Fight, that's internationally also.
Yeah. That would make a lot of sense. It's the same way WWE did it, right? Everything was on their network internationally.
But then that makes me think they have the infrastructure then to have their own streaming service worldwide.
They do. It's just way more lucrative for them to sell the rights nationally. I mean, listen, get a VPN, set your country as Slovakia, and sign up. That's another way you could work. You know, if you want to pay twice.
It looks like even with the subscription, you still have to pay for the pay-per-views. So,
right, because that is managed through Bleacher Report, right?
For us, yeah.
For us, yeah. That's not international too?
It might be Fight International.
Okay, yeah,
or
yeah.
Triller, whatever they're
that
calling
would make
it.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, Dynasty, Double or Nothing, and Forbidden Door 3 are all included in the package. Sounds like a good deal. I wish they would do that here.
I mean, they work international, just completely different on everything.
They really do.
I mean, I don't know why it can't just be lumped into. I don't know why they gotta make it so difficult. It's on different.
It has to do
even
with
like
the
WWE
cable
Prime, their
distribution.
international is what? It's not Peacock.
It was WWE Network. Now it's going
Until
to be Netflix.
literally now. I mean,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
like 2 weeks ago they showed
Like,
it.
why not just make that Peacock? Like, Peacock doesn't do stuff over it? Like, I just don't understand that.
I mean, if you already have the infrastructure in place, you should just keep it.
Yeah.
But they're willing to get out of it, though.
Well, now they are, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because when them going with Netflix, international
Well,
distribution
international,
is...
that probably generates some decent traffic.
Exactly. Yeah. Netflix for certain wanted that, especially with India and... yeah.
All right. WWE headlines. So, several more people have been added to the Hall of Fame list since last week. We've got the U.S. Express, the tag team of Mike Rotunda and Barry Windham. Muhammad Ali is being posthumously inducted, which I thought he already was in, but apparently
Is
not.
he going in the celebrity wing?
He must be.
That's what I thought.
Because he was
when I saw
involved
it.
in WrestleMania 1 and everything.
That's what I thought when I read it.
Thunderbolt Patterson, who I didn't really know much of. The Rock's grandmother, who was a promoter in Hawaii, Leah Maivia. And we've already talked about Paul Heyman and Bull Nakano, who Dan has no idea still who that is.
This is everybody, right? I
Well-
mean, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's usually they only have 5 or 6.
Bray Wyatt is still rumored. It hasn't been confirmed yet. So that should be the whole list. Usually they'll do just a group listing of posthumous inductions from the 30s and 40s. You know, people most people don't know, but yeah, most of that list I don't really. I shouldn't say most of that list. Like U.S. Express,
This is going to be one of the weakest classes.
I think so.
Maybe ever.
Barry Windham was already inducted with the Four Horsemen. I thought Mike Rotunda was in it already too,
I thought so
but
too. He's not.
I don't think so.
Okay,
I mean, IRS, I think he would go in for before
that's
a
true.
tag team.
But again, they're running out of, like, it's gonna, I mean, you look at what the scale when they first get, they're gonna...
Listen, if they don't announce Bray Wyatt,
They have to.
and I work for WWE, and I find out that Leah Maivia took his spot because they needed to do that to get The Rock to come on board, I'm leaking that email tomorrow. I mean,
I think...
what is Leah Maivia doing in here? I
Well,
mean,
The
you
Rock,
could-
apparently Rock had some pull with the
Well,
Hall
and
of
you
Fame.
can argue being a promoter in the early days in a territory like Hawaii is, you know, it's something.
At that point, it wasn't a family name. So, respect. I'm not saying that she wasn't amazing and it wasn't great and all that stuff. I'm just saying Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame. She's going to... Not she, but... She's going to stand next to Paul Heyman. Okay. I mean, if that's how you feel about it. That's the same thing with Bull. Like, Bull, great. Why? Like, why?
Well,
Triple H likes her. Triple H liked her.
Yeah, Bull
Okay.
is because I don't want to sound insensitive here, but they have to have a woman every year. They have to have a black wrestler every year.
You got Leah. Leah Maivia. If you knew you were
a
going to put my
female wrestler.
I see.
Leah Maivia is the promoter aspect.
Is that did that leak or something, or is that just your perception?
No, that's been pretty well known. That was how Vince always did it
I
for the
see.
last several years. They have a tag team, they have a celebrity, they have a male wrestler, a female wrestler,
Okay.
a manager, a promoter, a
Okay.
posthumous. That's how they've always done it, at least for the last several years. So,
But to your point, they are getting a lot of posthumous.
this year, yeah.
And if Bray Wyatt gets added, that's
I
another
think
one.
I think I think the fact that a lot of these, no offense to them, they seem like they're not storyline or headlining. I think that means Bray Wyatt's to be in it.
I mean, this is.
I think it's a
WrestleMania.
year of Bray Wyatt. I mean, you got to have a couple of them in there. I mean, the fact you don't see like Batista and all these other people that have been rumored. I mean, we all know that WWE looks this as they treat it as a publicity thing. They treat it as
It's his-
another show.
Who
They
accepts it?
Who? His wife.
Or his brother.
Because you've got Rotunda going in with U.S. Express.
Yeah, it'd probably be Bo Dallas or his wife.
His wife and daughters will probably go up there.
Yeah.
His girlfriend, right? They weren't married.
Oh, they might not have been married, but
Yeah, I
they
don't
had
think they were
4
married.
kids or whatever.
Yeah.
But the reason Paul Heyman's going in is because WrestleMania is in Philly this year. That's the main reason why he's doing it now.
Well, and but he deserves it. Like,
But
nobody's gonna argue.
but previously he turned it down.
Okay.
This year
Multiple
he
times.
finally accepted.
Yeah. Now seems like the right time.
Yeah.
I mean, before was probably fine too, but
All right, so they've picked cities now for Money in the Bank and SummerSlam. In July, Money in the Bank will be in Toronto. SummerSlam in Cleveland in August. And it's rumored that next year's WrestleMania is going to be Minneapolis.
Yeah, they've been talking about that for a little while.
Yep.
Makes sense.
I think they just confirmed it. Or
No shockers with any of those destinations.
It's pretty clear Ohio paid them.
Oh, that's right.
To have
That's-
SummerSlam.
yep.
$1.65 million, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
So, for all you mayors and city councils of large cities, it's going to cost you $1.65 million to get a
Big pay-per-view.
get a show like that. And they're going to be in Brown Stadium, I guess.
And speaking of big shows, the next Saudi show has been scheduled for May 25th, one day before AEW Double or Nothing.
Yeah, do I really care about that?
No,
The Saudi show?
I don't think it impacts either any of it.
They write the Saudi show to be like outside of canon. You know
Yeah,
what
but
I'm
they
saying?
still try to make it like a WrestleMania level show, though.
They do because Saudi Arabia makes them do it, but you know what I mean when I say outside of canon, though.
Yeah.
They try to they don't write the storylines into it. They're literally just like scratching the prince's back or whatever. You know what I mean? Just like
Didn't Goldberg beat The Fiend for the title in Saudi?
I don't. I guess
Yeah, something like that.
they did have the Fiend lose. Did he drop the title?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
But
He
yeah,
might
I
have.
mean
When
they
she-
do.
when she- yeah, Goldberg loved going out there. So.
They do that kind of because they want to see Goldberg. You know,
But
what
they
I'm
want you to
saying?
show that they want you to see when changing the title over that things can happen on that
Like,
show.
does anybody think Roman Reigns isn't going to be there, and that Roman Reigns isn't going to wrestle? I saw a.
Well, if he loses the title, he might be taking some time off,
I saw a. Okay, good.
which
point.
would make sense.
Good point. But if he has the title, he's totally going to be there. The guy has held the title for what is it, like 1,300 days now? He's defended it.
1,400.
1,400. He's defended it 54 times.
Can I say this bold thing here? If
Yes.
Cody Rhodes does not win the title, then I don't know what.
You're going to become an AEW fan.
I don't know what. Excuse my language. I don't know what the fuck we've been doing for 2 years with.
That's what we're going to do.
It's the
Yes.
story or the what they been calling it. It's the his story. He kind of finished his story.
Finish his story,
I'm
yeah,
sorry,
finish
they've done a
his story.
great job with that storyline, and they make it, and the fans are behind them. And if they really walk into WrestleMania Night 2 and they don't give the belt to Cody, I'm gonna be like, what have I been watching for 2 years with this? Really? I mean, they literally. I mean, honestly, they have literally now have turned the crowd on The Rock. And the crowd literally didn't say, we don't want this match. We want Cody. Like, clearly that's what people are
And now
looking
they're
for.
trying to jujitsu The Rock back into it without making it look like you're
Yeah,
responding
no,
to
they'll
the
do a good
crowd.
job doing that, I'm sure. But the reality is, if Cody doesn't walk out of there with the title, and it's Roman Reigns at this show with the belt, I don't know what's going on. I
This is
just
what we
think
need to
it's
do. Every time...
Third Royal Rumble, he's going to win.
Every time every time WWE does something that Dan doesn't like, we just need to lean in and go, AEW would have done that. AEW
No.
would've given Cody the title.
They've had
AEW.
plenty. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. They
AEW would've
predicted
given
what
the
I
title.
thought was going to happen.
So, yeah, they have to do that. I mean, their hand is totally forced.
They have to.
I don't know.
Unless they shock everyone again, they don't.
But yeah, I mean, this Saudi... I mean, I don't really care. It's not going to take away from Double or Nothing, I don't think.
They're probably trying
No.
to break the record with most
Because we're
consecutive Royal
AEW
Rumble
fans.
wins. They'll have Cody win at this Royal Rumble again, 3 in a row. That's how stupid it
That's
is.
the record,
sometimes.
right? Didn't Stone Cold win it twice?
Who knows?
He's won it 3 times, not in a row, though.
Okay.
Has someone else has won it back to back or no?
Yeah, like 3 or 4 people.
So they're gonna say, "Oh, Cody holds a new record for most consecutive Royal Rumble wins."
Yeah.
That's what we're after. We're gonna do 3 years of that.
Cody wins the title, wins the Royal Rumble, challenges himself, and then does a Kenny Omega
And
style
wrestles
fight
himself.
where he's punching himself in the face. And
No, I'm saying if he
suplexing
doesn't
himself.
win the belt at WrestleMania.
It'll look like that scene from Fight Club where he's punching himself into the shelf. And
And it
Alright.
sounds like The Rock is doing a movie starting in May, so he's out for
Yeah,
this
he's
too.
out until
He's filming.
SummerSlam. Yep.
filming, it's like, okay,
No.
so he's not going to win the title. This is the problem. It's once you break kayfabe, there's no going back. So now that everybody knows he's going to a movie, okay, I guess he's.
I
not.
still
Yeah,
don't think
we know
he's
how that
done.
stories ended.
I think I don't. First off, they're
Unless he
not gonna-
drops it the next night.
I'm sorry, they're not wasting The Rock out in Saudi. They're gonna use him for SummerSlam. They're going to use him for.
Maybe.
The Rock loves Cleveland. If you look at a lot of the shows that he's either returned at or had big moments, they've always been in Cleveland.
That's the next question is,
Yeah.
okay, you got the $1.65 million for
Yeah.
SummerSlam, but what do you get with
Right.
that?
The Rock there'll be some kind of Rock will screw over Roman at WrestleMania or something, and it'll be a battle for the head of the table at SummerSlam between Rock and Roman. No belt. That's what it should be.
He better be in shape.
I think he's kind of lost. I looked the other day when he was on SmackDown. He actually kind of looked.
He's been getting called out a lot online for PED use. People have been calling him out a lot about, like, same thing with Cena. Cena's been getting called out a lot.
Jealous people who probably can't get the muscles that they.
Well, yeah, they probably don't use PEDs. But
All right, so WWE announces a global partnership with Prime Energy Drink.
shocker.
Are we shocked? Thank you. Are we shocked?
The shocking part is they're planning to have the logo in the center of the ring.
Guess who else does that?
It's I'm not shocked at all.
I know.
I mean, they took the sponsorship and advertising departments for both and put them all under one.
That
That's
looks.
TKO. The
I mean,
question,
there's an image of it though, and it is.
It does not look good.
Yeah,
I really
it's
don't like
very
it.
distracting.
the question that I have is, because we talked about how this is, we kind of knew this was going to happen, right? We knew that when TKO was formed, you were going to see some intermixing of different things, right? And I think we knew that advertising on the canvas was one of the things that was going to happen. The question that I have is, some of the biggest sponsors in UFC are beer and liquor and gambling. Beer, liquor, and gambling. Huge sponsorships of UFC.
DraftKings and whatnot. Yeah.
Well, that does not align very well with WWE's
PG product.
exactly their family product. So, are we going to see a beer logo?
No.
Are we going to? Because how many sponsors out there? Okay, you got Slim Jim,
Yeah, but
but how many sponsors do you have out there with the cash flow that don't rely on some vice type like drinking?
the reality is they
or-
have one department now. So if you're a representative for Slim Jim and you call, hey, I want to sponsor, they're gonna say, I think you line up well with our values over at WWE. We think you line up
Maybe.
with our values and our interests at UFC. I
Maybe.
mean, beer. If I'm Budweiser and I'm calling to sponsor one of your brands, we're gonna say, yeah, UFC. That's.
So what are you going to put a car? Like, I hear what you're saying, but I think that the pockets of those types of companies typically aren't that deep from a marketing standpoint.
TKO
So what
wants
are
to
we going
make
to see
money.
a gigantic Audi A6 on the canvas at WrestleMania 40? You know what I'm saying?
I think have we not learned that TKO is all about money? They're going to stretch and milk out both brands as much as they can
Sure.
to have. I mean, why wouldn't they have the logo on the middle of the ring? I mean, I don't like the logo. Get rid of the
it's just
bottle. Just say Prime in letters, energy drink under it. It does not need to be the actual bottle itself. In red, out of all colors, red.
big picture of Logan Paul.
It looks horrible.
Doing the
like
Triple
just the
H
prime,
point.
just the prime letters in the center of the ring. That's all it needs to say.
Yeah.
Get rid of the bottle.
Yeah, you would think they'd want to make it look like
It looked
aggressive and dynamic. It's kind of
It looked
boring. And,
horrible.
yeah, it doesn't look good.
All right. Vince McMahon has finalized his sale of $412 million of stock shares in TKO.
Yeah, go buy your legal fees.
Over 5,350,000 shares. Still doesn't say if that's all of it, though.
No,
No,
he
it's
still
like
has
half.
like 15.
Half.
He has like 18% left, I think.
After both of his last sales, so he's raised what did we say it was? It was
20 million?
It's like $1 billion though between the two sales. He still
1.1.
has.
He has 1.1 billion. We said he
Yeah.
has like he essentially got $2.5 billion worth of shares in the company.
Yeah, that's right. Because you said he owned like 20%. It was like 20 billion. Mm-hmm. So
He owns 18% now.
yeah.
Still.
So yeah, he basically
Jesus.
he's raised basically.
I
$1
take that
billion.
back. He has 18 million shares left, not percent. He has 18 million shares left.
Which is about half of what he
Yeah,
started.
but he had like I think 29 originally, 29, 30 originally.
So he's.
And I think he owns roughly 8% of the
I want to
company. I think.
know who's buying it.
People, someone is.
Who's buying? Is it TKO? Because that's a bad sign. You do stock buybacks when do you do stock buybacks?
When something's crashing.
You do stock buybacks when your competition is nipping at your heels and you don't want people to get concerned. You don't want people to think you're losing market share. So
this
you
is a
buy your
company-
own stock back.
This is a
keep it
company that
elevated.
wants to own their company. I really do. I think that's. I think to them they don't want to deal. This is a company that too much is invested in for any hostile takeovers.
But you can only. I'm not saying there's going to be a hostile
Well,
takeover.
if they open their shares, that's how that happens. Like Disney comes in and swoops in and buys all of Vince
But there's
McMahon's
not
share.
enough available to do that. Even if Disney swooped in right now, they'd buy 5%. It wouldn't.
It sounds like Vince owned 18-20% of the company based off of the percentages and all. So if someone were to come in and buy all his stock that he's selling, you don't want someone with 18% of your company.
No, what you'd probably have is some pension fund, the firefighters' pension fund
that
from
caused
Mississippi
problems.
or something.
We want a seat on the board. Look at Disney. Corporate Disney's dealing with it. All the hostile takeover attempts. I mean, when they start buying up stock, that's what they don't want that. So they're probably buying their own stock.
WWE was buying up its own stock to keep the price elevated up until right before TKO bought them, to keep their price up above $100.
I believe
The
that.
price crashed. AEW started looking not so hot. Triple H started calling them a second-rate promotion. Blah 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 blah. They started looking not so scary, and so they stopped their buyback program. They paused it. The company gets bought out. So I'm just interested to see who's buying it. Is TKO buying it back? I don't think it's for some.
One way or another, you'll find out on some kind of report down the road.
Yeah, in a quarter. We'll find out what happened probably.
All right, last bit of news here. I think we've talked about this before. The lawsuit of Marvin Jackson against the WWE for an injury sustained at a show early last year. He's claiming of hearing loss due to pyrotechnics going off at a...
Yes, I remember this. Yes.
The lawsuit was dismissed in the Tarrant County District Court in Texas, dismissed with prejudice. He appealed the decision and is seeking arbitration for it. He's claiming upwards of $1 million for damages, penalties, legal costs, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, we talked about this like a couple months ago, I think. The last time it got dismissed.
Yep.
Yeah, this is the
It's
lawsuit
been-
that won't go away.
Right, this is one... No, I thought that was the guy who said they were stealing his ideas or something.
That's a different one. That's
Okay.
a different one. That is another one that won't go away though.
But yeah, this one is back again, and the court has ordered arbitration on it. So, I mean, it was always my understanding when you buy a ticket, you're basically signing a what's it called? Where
NDA.
not an NDA,
but you sign it. You sign.
It's not a contract where
indemnity.
it forces an arbitration.
Yeah, you sign an indemnity, which says we're not going to hold you responsible if I break my finger or
Right.
whatever.
Waiver. Thank you. That's what I'm looking for. Jeez, you don't know nothing.
I actually gave a better word than waiver, and I'm getting hated for it.
Nobody knows what that word was. All right, so let's get into our main talking points here. Put on the rubber gloves. We're going to get a little dirty here because we're going to be talking about the Vince McMahon lawsuit again. Some new information has come out. If you watched our 13-part series on the breakdown of this lawsuit...
By the way, did you see me laughing when you first brought it up? The minute you brought up it, Jeremy gets ready. There's a little grin on his face. He gets all moving. He starts moving around, and he's getting himself all situated.
You make it sound so smooth. Like, oh yeah, if you just sat back for like 6 or 8 hours and
If you watched our 13-part series,
Just stating the facts here. That's
You
what
are
it was.
you were not.
factual.
It's fine.
it's being very factual. I give you a lot of credit for that.
So the lawsuit broke down corporate officers, not named, corporate officers 1 through 4. We now know the names of these corporate officers. Number 1 being Nick Khan. Number 2 being Chief Operating Officer Brad Blum. Number 3 being Stephanie McMahon. And number 4, Head of Legal Brian Nurse. So, you looked back, Jer, at the lawsuit, everything you broke down. How much bearing do these names have and what they did as far as the lawsuit's concerned?
I think it has a pretty huge bearing in when you look at it in the context of the entire lawsuit as a whole. So let's address the one that catches everybody's eye, and that's Stephanie McMahon. I'll tell you, I knew straight up as soon as I read the reports that there wasn't going to be a whole lot in there because there was not a whole lot in there. I remember like CO number 3 just was not mentioned very much. Really, the only 2 times that Stephanie is mentioned are to indicate basically that as Janelle Grant became more out there, as she started to move up, she became director level, became more successful, she became more visible within the organization. It became very clear she was asked to sit next to Stephanie at board meetings that she would attend, and it became quite clear that Stephanie kind of knew what was going on, just kind of under the surface. It's also alleged in the lawsuit that Stephanie knew of other, and I don't know if this goes back to conversations that happened in the board meetings where things were hinted at and whatnot, but the lawsuit contends that Stephanie knew of other inappropriate sexual things that had happened between Vince and other women in the past. That's all that it says about Stephanie McMahon. I would say the next most interesting thing is corporate officer number 4, Brian Nurse. He's the one that offered her the job officially, literally said, like, welcome to WWE. He's the one that was it was very explicit throughout the entirety of the lawsuit, at least the claims in the lawsuit, that he knew what was going on. He knew that this was a directed hire, that there was an inappropriate relationship going on. He's the one that acted very coldly towards her, would shut her down, would hate her ideas, made for a pretty hostile work environment, is what the lawsuit claims. That he was one of 2 people to deny Grant's request to stay in the XFL when she got transferred over there temporarily, kind of undercover or whatever. She didn't want to come back. She filed to stay. He said no. The one saving grace that he has is that he was fired from the company in November of 2020. So he leaves the picture about 9 months after I think it's March of 2020, right around COVID, is when she enters the company, and he's gone by November. So there really isn't a lot of... He knew what was going on.
How long was the relationship in general?
What's that?
How long was the relationship start? When did it start with Vince?
It went about 2.5 years.
So from January 2020 to...
It was around January 2020 until, technically speaking, I believe the NDA was signed in early 2022.
So he probably didn't know much. I mean...
Well, he knew it alleges that he knew that she was a directed hire. He knew that there was an inappropriate relationship between them, and that he kind of took it out on her. That he would gossip about her in the office, that he would...
He might not have known all the sort of details, but...
I think that my guess is that he got a call from Vince that said, you're going to hire this woman and I don't care, and he felt spiteful about it. Maybe he wanted somebody else for the job, or he didn't like the fact that Vince was playing favorites.
I mean, look, we're dealing with a company that has McMahon's name written all over it. I'm not saying just Vince. I'm saying Stephanie. I'm saying Linda. I'm saying Shane.
Vince
they had
Sr.
complete control over the board. They had complete control over operations. I'm sure people walked around and go, yeah, they're together. They don't know the extent of it. They don't know what was going on behind closed doors.
Can I move on? Because you'll see as I continue here. So the next interesting one is Brad Blum, this chief operating officer, COO. He interviewed Grant. He actually sat down and interviewed her at Vince's behest. So he knew that she wasn't qualified to have any real role. Certainly not a role that pays as much as she was getting paid after her promotions. He, supposedly, according to the lawsuit, is the one that informed Vince of rumors floating around the office about their inappropriate relationship. So, again, he's got his finger on the pulse of what's going on inside the organization. He's the one that moved Grant over to the talent relations department, working under John Laurinaitis. So she had already had an established inappropriate relationship with Laurinaitis, and now he moves her into the department working directly underneath Laurinaitis. Not good. He's the one that promotes her to the director of operations for talent relations, which is a job that pays over $200,000 a year and has all kinds of perks associated with it. He drafts the to-do list that she has to go through in order to effectuate the NDA. So he's literally intimately involved in the process of getting the NDA drafted and signing it. He is one of only 3 people that Grant mentions by name specifically during the negotiations over the NDA, saying these people need to get covered by the NDA because they knew about our relationship. specifically knew about our relationship. And he was one of Grant's contacts after the NDA was effectuated. So he is intimately involved throughout the entirety. The idea that he didn't know what was going on, I mean, is just impossible. And then I would say the worst and most significant finding from this disclosure is that corporate officer number 1 is Nick Khan. Obviously, Nick was a CEO and was basically in control. CFO and then CEO. It kind of went back and forth a little bit, but very high ranking at the time.
He was president for a while.
He worked with the legal boss, corporate officer 4, Brian Nurse. He denied her request to leave the XFL as well. Vince assured Grant during the process of him trying to convince her to sign the NDA that Khan would help her find a job after the fact. Grant specifically mentioned that she wants Nick Khan in the NDA as well. Mentioned by name. Nick Khan cannot talk about me. He was one of Grant's contacts after the NDA was effectuated, and it mentions at the very end of the lawsuit that he clearly knew about their relationship. The first time that they officially met in the office, he kind of said to her, "Oh yeah, I know exactly who you are." Even though they work in different buildings, in different areas, on different floors, their jobs are completely unrelated to each other. He has no reason to know who she is. So, again, this is another example, I would say, not quite as on the nose as the Brad Blum situation, but definitely very significant to have the CFO, president, CEO.
At the time, he was president.
Yeah, at the
So
time.
he became
president.
CEO in July 2020.
So he's denying her requests. He is mentioned specifically by name, saying that he needs to be covered by the NDA. He even says to her, again, this is according to the lawsuit, says to her, "Oh yeah, I know who you are," even though there's no reason for him to know who she is unless he's been talking to Vince about the situation. So do I think that this revelation has really any bearing on the court case? Yes, only in the sense that the weakest part of the lawsuit up until this point was always the WWE part. Proving that there was a culture of corruption, that is a stretch. But this assumes that everything alleged in the lawsuit is the real deal. Assuming all that's the real deal and it's all true and this is true, this clearly shows that certainly throughout the executive level of the organization, everybody knew what was going on. Not only did they know what was going on, they acted as tools of Vince McMahon supporting the actions that he was taking.
Well, I think they
That's
have
exactly
to.
what the lawsuit
I think they
was.
have to. I mean, like I was saying a few minutes ago. I mean, this company, even though they're a publicly traded company and they have a board of directors, and it is run by McMahon. He is the guy, and during the time of all this, he's chairman and CEO. Nick Khan is president. Okay, the other guy's chief operating officer. The other guy's head of league. Like these guys, I'm sure they knew that he was Vince McMahon's side girlfriend. I'm sure they knew. Now, to the extent of what we read in the details, what him and John Laurinaitis did, do I think they knew all that? No, I don't. I don't think they knew specifically that Vince McMahon did what he did and then did what he did on top of her. Like, I don't think they knew about that extent. I don't know. I'm just. But when your chairman and CEO walks in and goes, "Hey, I need this NDA drafted up for her," like, what are you gonna say? No. What are you gonna say? You can say no, and you're gonna quit and walk out because if you say no, you're getting fired. And I'm not saying it's right, but this is a difficult situation that you're in with a corporate company that is absolutely controlled by Vince McMahon at the time. And I'm not saying those things can't fall apart. Look what happened. He got thrown out. I mean, the company's not his anymore. Like, I mean, that stuff eventually falls apart. But at the time, what are you going to do? I'm sure the rumors all around were like, oh, she's always in Vince's office. Oh, I'm sure everyone kind of, oh, did you hear the rumor about this? Did you hear about that? Mm-hmm. Do I think they knew the extent of what's in the lawsuit? Probably not. I'm sure if they knew about that, there'd be someone that has some moral responsibility to be like, I can't support this. This is like, I don't think they knew all that. I think they knew probably Vincent probably had a lot of girlfriends. I'm sure that's a rumor. I mean, well, I'm sure we'll hear more about it. We have seen a lot of little lawsuits pop up. I'm sure it was just a classic. Oh yeah, that's his new side girlfriend, and he wants her to work at the company.
Two things on that. I think that one, if what you're saying is true, it still supports Janelle Grant's case.
Oh, it does,
She was
yeah.
saying people knew what was going on, and therefore WWE is liable because they supported and created a culture.
How much
allowed
they
it.
knew is the question.
But-
That's the $1 million question. How much they knew and what they knew.
That is immaterial. All that they have to know is what you said, and it still constitutes inappropriate. Just them knowing that they had a personal relationship and that they were directed to hire her even though she's unqualified for the job, boom. You already have, basically, in my opinion, proof to support the
Oh, I think
lawsuit.
I mean, for sure, she definitely has a case. I mean, it's just a matter of, again, how much they prove and how much they...
This is what we need
evidence
to
they
watch
have.
next. So when the lawsuit dropped on January 20th, they ran from Vince McMahon, they ran from John Laurinaitis, right? They ran from anybody specifically named. Now, Nick Khan. What do they do with Nick Khan? He's still there. Brad Blum. What do they do with him? He's still there.
I don't think they're doing anything with Nick Khan. The statement that came out, they never defended it. They've actually released a statement. It was a very direct statement saying that Brad and Nick had absolutely nothing to do with. Like, they came out with it. I read the wording of the statement. I'm like, WWE hasn't really issued too many statements on this, and they're very stern about this one. And I gotta imagine a statement like this on a topic like this is definitely getting approved by TKO.
Somehow it leaked. They called Janelle Grant's attorney who confirmed that these are the people. So I will say this. The fact, and I maybe we can end on this, the fact that if Janelle Grant can produce proof that as part, and it could be emails, it could be anything, if she could produce proof that she specifically said, I want this person and this person and this person, specifically mentioned in the NDA because they knew about us, hands down, doesn't matter. Like, that's it. Even if it's just an email.
TKO has some difficult decisions. to
Even
deal
if
with.
it's just an email. So again, how deep does it go? No, they didn't do anything explicitly. Again, it's not like they're in John Laurinaitis' position. So TKO doesn't have to hang them out to dry because it's one thing to kind of know something funny's going on over there, right? And it's another thing to participate.
I'm telling you right now.
whatever's
I'm telling you right now. The Rock is their safety net. I really think if Triple H goes and Nick Khan goes, you got to have someone leading that company that everybody knows, and it's The Rock. I really think that's why he got brought on. I think he's their safety net. I mean, he owns USFL.
Oh, he's been getting some bad press the last.
Well, it's true, but
several months,
business-wise, he has several companies. I mean, he's not unfamiliar with being in the boardroom or being. I really think he's their safety net. He can be their face if all this shit goes down. I think they know that. We don't know what Triple H knew. What's gonna happen when they got to make that decision? Oh, Triple H, he doesn't need like. They don't know. They don't know. I'm sure.
We're never going to find out, though.
No,
We're never going to find out.
You don't know. It all depends on how much food she has.
Yeah. She probably doesn't have much.
All right, let's finish this off on a lighter topic. Al Snow is predicting that we're going to see somebody die in an AEW ring.
It's going to be Darby.
Al's good at writing storylines. I'm not sure that...
Well, this is why I brought this up, because especially, we'll take this last pay-per-view, Revolution, we saw a few scary bumps on that show. Will Ospreay took a brain buster to the turnbuckle, missed it, and banged up his back. He was all scraped up,
Yeah, that looked
scratched up.
nasty.
And then, Darby Allin doing that big swanton through a plate of glass to the floor. Not exactly safe, I would say.
I mean, I would say Darby especially did it. You weren't here. We talked about it last week. Darby did it about as safely as you could do it.
Yeah.
They had stunt coordinators. They had doctors ringside. He had done all the clearance and gotten all the check marks. I mean, if this wasn't Darby running off half-cocked, I mean, this was him, it was organized. You know, there's inherent danger to anything that you do, and that's obviously extraordinarily dangerous, you know, as opposed to the normal type of stuff that you see in the ring. But, I mean, I don't know how that... I guess anything could go wrong that could kill you in the ring, but I don't see how that... I mean, he could have hit a chair funny or something, but someone could hit you with a chair funny in the ring, you know? It looked incredible. Obviously, it looked nuts. It was inherently dangerous, but what makes that more dangerous than doing that same dive onto a person that happens to be on the floor? You could bang your head against their head and you could die.
What makes it more dangerous than anything that anyone's ever done? I think it just comes down to you can't
class.
get lazy, and maybe if people are getting lazy in the ring, that's where you got to be careful.
You could see they had the ref there holding the ladder and they had blocked it out.
They're not unfamiliar with doing some of the stuff that's been done. It's just you better do it the right way,
Honestly,
and you better be familiar with it.
I would think if the culture of the company becomes more about those kinds of high spots, I start worrying about the low spots. I start worrying about people tucking other people's heads while doing fisherman suplexes and tombstones where people's heads aren't being watched and stuff like that. Like, if you're spending all your time focusing on this one high spot in a 20-minute match, you need to make sure that you're doing all the little stuff right as well, because that's the stuff that's going to get you killed or paralyzed or whatever. That's the stuff that's going to get you hurt. Think about all the injuries we've been seeing with all the women we've been talking about in WWE. How many of those have been high spots? It's not. It's arm drags where people are being lazy and they're dropping their head too early or whatever it happens to be. You know what I'm saying? It's that kind of stuff that you have to worry about, especially when you're dealing with veterans in the ring that tend to be really, really comfortable. And now Darby's been doing it long enough. He's becoming a veteran. That's the stuff that I worry about. I worry about Darby taking a very standard finisher. That's the kind of stuff I worry about. So,
Well, we'll see if he survives his climb of Mount Everest and see if he comes back for any more.
nobody's
bumps like
gonna think about the Sammy Guevara situation. Nobody would think that you'd get hurt off of that.
He can get hurt at any moment.
And yet,
If it's not done the right way, it can be any moment.
But that's again, it's not a basic move, but it's very standard. Sammy Guevara's done it how many times?
Yep.
A billion times. That's where you screw up. That's where you're unsafe. So.
All right. On that note, we are done with this episode.
Woo!
Be sure to tune in for WWE Gauntlet this week. We got a new topic we're going to be running through. Dan already doesn't like it. And we doing a Falls Count Anywhere this week?
No, not this week.
No Falls Count Anywhere this week. Go back and watch the old ones. Go back and watch our 13-part docuseries on the Vince McMahon lawsuit.
I'll cut
What the heck?
that part out and I'll make it the 14th part so you can just anything.
Sure, why not? Make it a 14-parter. On that note, you keep watching. We'll keep wrestling with the business. See you later.
And that's it. Cut the episode.
Yep,
Print.
we're done.
Good. That's it. That's all that has to be said.